Hi, my name is Steven and welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to be talking to you about Life Lessons Learned, Part 17, When to Lie to Other People. In these series of episodes, I'm going to share with you the lessons I learned along the journey of my life. Now that I'm older, wiser, and can look back and see what I could have done better. The goal is to provide others a guideline to help them skip over my mistakes, and for them to make the most out of their own journey in life. Honesty is undoubtedly an admirable virtue to have in life. And living an honest life can fill you with peace and integrity for one's conscience. However, it's important to acknowledge that living an honest life in this day and age is a near impossibility. Navigating life without ever telling a lie is virtually impossible. We all find ourselves in challenging situations where the need to lie might arise and occur. And in those moments, we have to look upon our judgment and assess the situation uniquely to figure out whether or not we truly want to be completely honest or tell certain lies to get us through. Each person's background and experiences shape who they are, and conflicts are bound to arise at some point within our lives. It's those situations that make lying much more bearable to try to survive that situation. While lying should not be encouraged, based on your circumstances, it might be a prudent course of action. And knowing that judgment about what is acceptable and what is not is important for us. I personally choose to prioritize honesty above everything else in my life, even if it means sacrificing on certain social situations that I've encountered. Living authentically has afforded me a clear conscience of what I'm doing, as my words, actions, and belief all align with each other and the things that I say to other people. However, I also learned from my past experiences that there's no way to live a completely honest life, not in this day and age. And there are instances in which lying can be a better alternative. It's not my intention to advocate deceit, but better to share my circumstances and experiences. By reflecting on my lessons learned, we can help develop a better understanding of when to lie and when you can't, and ultimately how to handle these situations with more care and understanding moving forward. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about my background, my lessons learned, and my general thoughts. And before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, share with friends, hit that notification bell if you like this content, and let's go. Lying was not part of my existence. It was a learned habit when I was a young kid. Early on, I knew my parents weren't exactly truthful to me, but it took me a long time to realize that they were perhaps deceitful at times. Initially, I had assumed that it was either a misunderstanding or a lack of American knowledge. But as I got older, I started to realize the inconsistency of their stories that they were telling me. And a certain part of me also realized that they were telling me things that I wanted to hear just to get me to do something that they wanted from me. It was part of their strategy to get more control and compliance from me. Lying just became another tool for them in their parenting toolbox. These range from small deceptions to things that really impacted me as a child. They might have spared my feelings for the short term, but when I realized it was a lie, I had long-term effects from it. And also on certain occasions, they just wouldn't disclose certain things to me, no matter how much I asked. My childhood experiences with lying absolutely helped me to sharpen my lie detection skills, because I start to realize how untruthful people react and how they deflect. Over time, this is a skill that's honed in with practice from detecting other people's BS's. However, for me personally, because I have such an aversion to being lied to, I try to not do that to others. It's a feeling and experience that I don't want others to go through. That's why I don't want to lie. And of course, understanding that life isn't black and white. It lives in the gray zone. Being able to detect lying and identify falsehoods is a great skill to have. Ultimately, you can look at lying as a strategic tool only to be used in certain extreme cases. Conflicts can arise, and using that tool can be a good thing to have in your back pocket. And you could also use that tool to open up new doors and opportunities for you. So let's take a look at my lessons learned on how to use lying strategically. So here are my lessons learned. Number one, when consequences are negligible. If you really have to lie in your life, make sure the consequences of that lie are really low, if at all. These are situations like meeting a stranger on the street if they're asking you for money. Or if somebody asks you for your number and you really don't want to give it out, then you can lie. These are typically lies that won't be a burden on your soul, and you could probably spare other people's feelings as well. My take on this is very conflicted. There are times when I tell white lies, and other times I just straight up tell the honest truth. Because there are cases where a white lie can save me from a conversation that I don't want to have, or in a conflict that I don't want to get into. But I have to use this strategically, and I have to make sure that there's no consequences coming from it. In modern polite society, there's always cases in which we have white lies. There's just no way around it, and anybody that tells you differently have not lived in modern society. Being adept at inconsequential lying can help us in certain aspects of our life. but the key is to be very careful at how you use it and don't use it often, if at all. Only deploying it in a manner in which fits the context of your situation. Lying just to lie to others is just plain mean. So when the consequences are lying is negligible, you can consider perhaps lying. Number 2, when embellishment is required. There are certain times in our lives in which we are expected to lie or at least embellish ourselves. This can be in the form of business mixers, fitting in with groups of people, and speed dating events. In these times, embellishing yourself might get others to notice you. I think that honesty on a level playing field is always the best course of action, but not everybody fights fair and are on level playing fields. Because sometimes other people might not play fair with you and will just gain an advantage over you. In those cases, you can keep using various tools in mind, such as lying, and embellishing yourself in certain cases to get you back on that level playing field. In my late teens and early 20s, I embellished myself a lot in life, at least enough that they want to keep me around. This for me backfired immensely because once they caught me in that lie, I couldn't sustain it and it all fell apart. And eventually they lost respect for me, so I didn't end up being in that group anyways. I personally have no need to do this anymore in my life because I don't need to fit in groups that I need to lie to. Be careful with this one because lying is a slippery slope and you could fall down a dangerous course of action. At some point in the conversation, you'll be found out and people will lose respect for you over that. So really take care in how you embellish and not to go overboard with it. But when used strategically and limited, it can provide you the boost of advantage that you might need to get noticed. Number 3, when giving constructive feedback. Sometimes softening the blow might be the best course of action for constructive criticism. Telling people things that disarm them before you give them the actual criticism. It might necessitate not telling them the complete truth to get them on your side first. The goal is to get them on board with what you have to say and make sure that they bought in. And depending on the person, they might want to hear the good things before the bad things arrive. If you say the complete truth to them before you give that criticism, they might just tune you out completely. Telling people what they need to hear to get them on board may be what you need to do to optimally motivate them. This is extremely hard to do, and you walk a fine line with your criticisms and feedback. Helping various people in my life, the messaging always have to be as on point or as good as it can get. You might have to say a couple of white lies just to spare their feelings in the short term. It always feels like a balancing act with other people when you try to do it. And with others that can take the honesty, I give it to them straight up, no sugarcoating it. With those that cannot, I try my best to soften the blow beforehand. I think that in this case, when you're using lying, it has to be strategic and it has to be limited. The goal is to try to get the other people to better themselves, not to stroke their ego. So softening the blow or appealing to their ego might not always be the correct course of action. So when you're giving constructive feedback, take into consideration the other person's understanding of your message, and whether that includes lying to them or telling them the straight truth. Number 4, when you're sworn to secrecy. Unless you have no secrets whatsoever, keeping those secrets might necessitate lying to others. And this is just to keep that secret from getting out. This is fairly straightforward as we all need to keep things from others from time to time. This secret has to be, of course, something very big or at least non-trivial for you to keep and lie to others about it. It cannot be a trivial secret or one that's convenient for you to lie to others. I think for me, I only had to do this once or twice in my life to lie to keep a secret. And each time I think it was justified to keep that secret from that other person. I thought it was very important for me to withhold telling the absolute truth, because I respect the person I made that promise to and I'm holding myself accountable to it. This is not a thing that I took very lightly to lie to other people. Depending on the secret, it's up to you to determine what level you're comfortable lying to keep your secret. Don't just do it for anyone or anything. It has to align with you and your core values. Make sure it's ultimately worth it to keep that secret in the end. So a possible avenue for lying is to keep your secrets. And number 5, when the alternative is much worse. Lastly, lying can be needed in certain emergency situations in life. For example, if honesty can cause immediate harm to you or others, or when you need to keep something hidden in order for you to not get injured or worse. These lies are done when you have no choice whatsoever, and the alternative is much, much worse. I have little to no experience in this realm whatsoever. Other people have told me situations in which they were getting robbed and they withheld certain information from that robber, and they needed to lie either to save themselves or certain personal belongings. It takes a really special situation to get yourself in this, but if you're in one, then lying may be an option. But if that's what it takes to get you out of a dangerous or bad situation, then you must take it. So lying when the alternative is much worse might be your safest bet. So here are my general thoughts on lying to other people. As someone who hates lying, this video is not about promoting lying to other people carelessly. In life, we have to work to live as honestly as we possibly can. Going through challenges and lying through them might be the easy path, but if I learned anything in my life, it never pays at the end of the day. The true path might be harder and it might take honesty, but it will always be better for you in the long run. And with that being said, lying is a tool like any other tool that you have. It can be used for either good or evil depending on your circumstances. It depends on the intent of our lying and how we go about doing it. You can also say that honesty is a tool as well. You can go too far with honesty or you can rein that in. Because some people might not want to hear the full truth because that is too much for them. The key is to really understand your limits on when to lie or when to tell the honest truth to other people. And that's not easy. So those are my lessons learned on when to lie to other people. Lying is a part of everyone's life, whether they want to believe it or not. It has been used both positively and negatively throughout the history of our society. And within our own lives, it has the power to shape the bonds of who we interact with on a day-to-day basis. Those who use lying carelessly might be isolated from others and might have a hard time in life. But those who use lying strategically might find themselves in a better path in life. Although the scars of my childhood have turned me off of lying in general, there are times when I recognize that lying can be useful or needed, and when deployed correctly can improve the lives of others around me. So I hope you're able to take a few lessons learned from my experience in lying and use that to improve your life as well. So thank you for watching. Please leave me a comment down below on what are your thoughts on lying and what was a lie that you told.